that fruit by the foot?
Yeah, I moved on for my popcorn since Jory stole it.
Welcome back to the Southern Quality Ford Friday Night Blitz. Now joined by the voice of the Bird Yellow Jackets, Charlie Cavell. Also, Bipsy Cavaliers do a lot over there. Let's talk about Bipsy real quick first.
Well, we start off men's and women's basketball season on November 1st. The women begin to tip off the season down in Baton Rouge against Baton Rouge Community College. And the men start next Saturday, November 3rd. They play DFW Prep. So it's here. Basketball season is here. Our cross-country team hosted the Region 14 cross-country meet today in South Bossier, and kudos, a shout out and congratulations to our men's team. First season under Kent Faulting and Aaron McGee, and they captured the Region 14 title in their first year. Yeah, it is. So it's a really exciting time. Basketball starting up, you know, cross country's finishing up, so really busy time for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you're not done with the Bird Yellow Jackets either. No. Let's talk a little bit about the Yellow Jackets. Kind of a slow start tonight, but they got it going a little later in the game.
Yeah, you could say it was a slow start. Just ask Brad.
On the traffic.
Traffic jam on, and I don't mean to be, you know, hopefully nobody was seriously hurt. There was a bad accident on Interstate 220, and Bird didn't arrive until, like I told Brad earlier, there was like 10 minutes on the pregame countdown clock.
It's definitely not enough time to warm up.
No, and the first, I mean, the band's already out on the field waiting, you know, to do pregame, and the first bus pulls up, and then about 2 minutes later, the second bus pulls up. So we didn't end up kicking off till 7:30, and you know, coaches always talk about that routine and staying in that routine, and I don't know if it was part of the hangover maybe from last week's game and coupled with that, but did not play well at all in the first half, but we're only down by 4 and then came out and dominated in the second half.
So you get a win
done
now.
With that fruit by the foot now, so you can ask questions.
You get a win tonight. Yellow Jackets now 7-2 into the regular season for the Yellow Jackets tonight with the win over Airline. So you have the off week next week, depending on how things can play out with these seedings in Division I. Could be close to 3 weeks before you see the Yellow Jackets back on the field.
Yeah, and that's a big concern. I mean, we talked about that. I talked about that with Coach Mike Suggs in our pregame interview, and it is. I mean, you know, you're dealing with teenagers, and you know, trying to hold their attention in practice for 30 minutes is a task in and of its own, much less keeping them on a schedule and in a routine and focused for 2 weeks is long. But now, you know, by the time they stepped off the field tonight to the time that they would take the field, potentially, it might be 3 weeks, depending on how things shake out next week.
Now, we had you on the show earlier in the season. Now we've gotten through the entire regular season for the Yellow Jackets. Where are they now compared to where they were at the beginning of the season?
Light years. I mean, Bird entered the season with a big question mark, not knowing the last 2 years were mediocre, subpar years for this football program. So it was kind of an unknown and really just big question mark of, you know, what are we going to see? And boy, I tell you what, like I said earlier, if you would have told me that after tonight, walking out of Airline Stadium, Bird would be 7-2. I am elated at just how well the offensive line has played exceedingly well, has really come together. And Charlie Barham, he's only 5'9", 188 pounds, but runs like a B-back in one of the service academy, or like Georgia Tech last night. Runs hard, good vision, a quick jump cut, and then has enough speed to get through holes. And I mean, he entered tonight.
He doesn't look like 188 pounds.
No, oh no. I mean, Charlie's a starting right fielder on the baseball team, and I mean, look at him when he runs off the field. I mean, he's, like I said, he's 5'8", and he just plays so much bigger and faster than he is. And as good a football player he is, he's a pretty good baseball player too. But when you look at his career marks, coming into the night, he needed like 24 yards to pass the great Richard Carthon on the all-time Shreveport Bird rushing list. He's now moved into 7th place on that list.
Wow.
And I mean, that's
impressive.
Yeah.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, for a guy that's not going to get any offers to play fullback in
Simply because of his size,
right? In college, so, I mean, that's really, really impressive. We're talking 114 years of Yellow Jackets football, and quite an outstanding career for Charlie Borum.
Well, hopefully next year, when these schedules come out, or in the next couple of months, the Bird Yellow Jackets bye week in the district isn't week 10, because there is zero chance with the offense that the Yellow Jackets run that anybody wants to play a non-district game the week before the playoffs start against the Bird Yellow Jackets.
Right. Well, and you're talking about that, and right now Coach Suggs is in the process of trying to schedule non-district games, and they're going to keep the Calvary matchup, but that game is moving to week 3. They'll have the Battle on the Border game in week 2. And he is searching for a week one game, and then
who knows if we're going to have bye weeks or how that's going to end up, because it sounds like Evangel's going back down, or going down for the first time to 4A.
The last scenario that
Benton's coming up.
Yeah, that's kind of been tossed out there is that Ouachita and West Ouachita are very close in numbers and likely to stay in 5A for Ouachita. West Ouachita would move up. Thereby, they would send Natchitoches Central into District 1 5A, because they're only an hour away.
Right.
And then send Ash, Alexandria Senior High, and Pineville to Monroe. So, hopefully that scenario does play out. That way your district slate is filled. Yes.
Even number of teams. Let's keep those fingers crossed for an even number of teams in District 1 5A.
Makes it easier for everybody.
And hopefully that same thing happens in District 1 3A, because there's 3 teams right now in that district. That's ridiculous. Anyway, don't let me get started. Brad, toss us to break.
All right, coming up on the Southern Quality for Friday Night Blitz, we're going to wind down the show as the four of us reflect back on some of the games that we saw tonight. That's coming your way after the break.